Now MGK is beefing with the rock community, huh? Say it ain't so. This might just be the first video on my channel where I talk about another community, which is in the hip hop community. MGK is of course a rapper, and I've talked about him on here a bunch of times, so I believe a lot of people will still be interested in this topic. This is a pretty big situation surrounding MGK though. It happened very recently and a lot of people have been talking about it. Not a lot of hip hop media outlets have talked about this though, which is why I wanted to speak on it real quick. There's definitely a lot of things we can learn from this situation right here. With that being said, MGK's beef with the rock community. Let's talk about it. Now, MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, Kells, whatever you want to call him, a rapper I've talked about on here on multiple occasions. I of course covered his extensive beef with Eminem when it was all going down. The last time I talked about MGK though, we discussed this crazy reinvention he's went through as an artist. Tickets to My Downfall, the pop punk inspired Machine Gun Kelly album that came out last year, which was definitely a very successful release. MGK has gotten a lot of success in the last year as a result of dropping that project. Personally, I liked the album. I thought it was great, although I do recognize that it wasn't an authentic pop punk / rock album because MGK is not a pop punk / rock artist at heart. Anyway, that aside, MGK's beef with the rock community. This is actually a very interesting situation right here because we essentially have the young generation, which is MGK in this case, and the old generation, or the old heads as we like to call them in hip hop, going at each other, and that in this case would be, well, let's talk about it. Now, are you guys familiar with Slipknot? I'm gonna assume that most of you guys are because Slipknot is a pretty big name in music, specifically the rock community. Slipknot is a very famous rock band that have been in the game doing their thing for a long time. One of the members from the band, who goes by the name of Corey Taylor, had a little something to say about MGK earlier this year. He did an interview back in February where he criticized MGK without directly addressing his name. This is what he said specifically.
And I hate everything. I hate all new rock for the most part. I think the artists who failed in one genre and decided to go rock, and I think he knows who he is.
Shout out to Cutter's Rockcast for the clip. I'm going to leave a link to the full interview in the description below, just in case you want to check it out. As you could hear though, he said that he hates this new generation of rock artists for the most part, and then he added, well, the artists who failed in one genre and decided to go rock. I think he knows who he is, but that's another story. His comments obviously applied to MGK, who I wouldn't say failed in rap at all, but MGK wasn't really thriving on a big level. MGK has been doing great for a very long time. He's very successful, has a lot of great songs, some great albums, but he never took the rap game with storm is what I'm trying to say. So Corey Taylor was alluding to MGK without saying his name. MGK is not a stupid guy. He can read between the lines, so guess what? Well, MGK himself had a little something to say about that. This is what he said on stage during that performance.
Hey, you want to know what I'm really happy that I'm not doing? Being 50 years old, wearing a fucking weird mask on a fucking stage, talking shit.
Just in case you didn't hear what he said, this is what he said. Hey, you want to know what I'm really happy that I'm not doing? Being 50 years old, wearing a effing weird mask on a effing stage, talking shit. Slipknot are known for rocking masks as a part of their brand. Corey Taylor is almost 50, he's actually 47, so his comments were applied to him as a way to respond back. MGK after this put up a tweet saying, Corey did a verse for a song on Tickets to My Downfall. It was effing terrible, so I didn't use it. He got mad about it and talked shit to a magazine about the same album he was almost on. Y'all stories are all off. Just admit, he's bitter. Now Corey Taylor then came back and said, niggas think it's sweet. It's on site. I'm just kidding, he didn't say that. But the beef was on, and Corey came back with some additional smoke and said, I don't like people airing private shit like a child, he said on Twitter. I didn't do the track because I don't like when people try to write for me. I said no to them. So without further ado, hashtag receipts, this is all I'm gonna say about it. MGK responded back to Corey's tweet saying, basically, your verse was really bad. Respectfully, I was just telling you to rewrite it because it was really bad. Respectfully. But let's do our Britney Spears song cover together. On a tweet from Corey Taylor though, he attached 2 emails. One of them was an email from Travis Barker, who was communicating with Corey on the behalf of MGK. MGK was pitching an idea he had for a collab that was apparently supposed to be on Tickets to My Downfall. The second email is Corey's response, and what he pretty much said was, hey, I listened to the records you sent, and honestly, I don't think I'm the right person for this particular track. Nothing personal, but if this is what he, MGK, wants, he should find someone else for the song. So he denied the collab, respectfully of course. Personally, I actually respect when artists don't jump on a song for the sake of it, especially if they know that they won't be able to do a good job on it. Anyway, continuing from here, on September 25th, MGK was performing at Louder Than Life Festival in Louisville, Kentucky. This is what happened. So this was the aftermath of this situation. He was getting booed by the crowd. A lot of people were also throwing up the middle finger as well. This was obviously as a result of this beef with Slipknot. MGK responded to this by saying, "I don't know why the media lies in their narrative against me all the time, but all I saw was 20,000 amazing fans at the festival singing every word and 20 angry ones." At the same festival, MGK also got involved in a physical altercation with a fan. Actually, maybe he wasn't a fan if he's trying to fight MGK, right? The last thing I want to show you is an Instagram story Machine Gun Kelly put up as a response to the situation at hand.
Hey, I got a question. What the fuck is y'all's problem with me, man? I just chill, I make music, people talk shit, I'm no one's hoeing me, so I talk shit back.
So there you have it, a full breakdown of this entire beef MGK has with the rock community from top to bottom. I actually don't want to talk too much about what's going on in the rock community because honestly I'm not too in touch with the scene, so that would be very ignorant of me to do, but a couple observations. Number one, MGK is clearly not liked within the rock community, and I'm not even talking about this beef being a reason for that. As far as I can see, a lot of it has to do with the fact that Kells doesn't make authentic pop punk / rock music. This is something I mentioned earlier in the video, if you remember that. Did I like the album? Yes, but I also recognize that he's far from an originator. That's something he himself would most likely agree with. MGK is a guy who's been a rapper since forever, made a transition into this other genre. Now he's capitalizing off of the genre and making a bunch of money from it due to the success of Tickets to My Downfall. From what I can see though, I don't think people in the community are hating on him strictly because he got success. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he hadn't previously contributed to the genre before getting all this success. And on top of that, he's getting a lot of credit for creating a more watered down version of the real thing. That part out of the way, regarding this beef right here, MGK was obviously responding back to Corey Taylor in this situation, so he wasn't the initiator of the beef. And even as someone who's not that in touch with the genre, I know one thing for sure, Slipknot are considered legends in rock. I mean, I've been hearing about Slipknot since I was like 5, so these guys have been around the block and some. MGK on the other hand is a young guy. He's 31 by the way. I don't know about you, but I think 30 is pretty damn young, hence to why I'm calling him a young man. I digress. Machine Gun Kelly is the young guy who dabbled into the genre and got a lot of success out of it. Corey on the other hand is an OG in the space who's contributed a lot to the scene, and he's clearly not a fan of a guy like MGK. Why could that be the case? Well, it's the same exact reason why some OGs, as in rappers who've been around for a long time, might not be a fan of these new rappers. It's an old head versus the young generation kind of battle. We've seen it in every single genre, so it's a movie we're all very familiar with. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of saying things publicly you could have taken up with someone in private, and MGK, like we clarified in this case, wasn't the instigator. Corey Taylor was. From what I can see, the majority of people are siding with Slipknot though, and that makes a lot of sense. They're a household name in the genre, so they have a lot of pull, while MGK is a new face in this particular space. So Kells doesn't have the support of the genre, while Corey Taylor and Slipknot do. Despite all the pushback he's been getting, this beef is greatly gonna benefit and has been benefiting MGK though. You gotta keep in mind that MGK doesn't make music for core rock fans anyway. Tickets to My Downfall is, yes, pop punk with a little bit of rock spice in. It's also a very commercial sounding body of work, hence to why it's getting commercial success. It appeals to a very wide audience, and that audience doesn't really care if the new guy in the scene, MGK, decides to beef with one of the pioneers, one of the OGs in the scene. It's the same reason why Lil Pump got away with saying F J Cole for a year straight. The people who are, or were, I should say, because his fans grew up, the people who were fans of him didn't care about the disrespect towards Cole. Obviously, we have a very different situation right here because I wouldn't call MGK's behavior disrespect at all, mainly because he didn't start it, he simply responded back. But Kells got the chance to not only talk a little bit of shit back, but with that came publicity, controversy, and attention, and that's why he's benefiting from this big time. To be fair, by the way, MGK had every right to respond back. Would I handle it the way he did? Definitely not. However, MGK is a very hands-on kind of guy. I mean, we all know how he handled the entire Eminem beef, so the outcome of this particular beef right here doesn't surprise me at all. The only way I think this beef could hurt MGK is if the most popular artists in his space decide to not work with him due to how he handled handle this entire situation. That could happen because, like I said earlier about Slipknot, they have a lot of influence in the genre, and artists siding with them against Kells wouldn't be too crazy of an outcome if you ask me. But yeah, MGK is beefing with the rock community. Any thoughts on this entire MGK and Slipknot beef? Keeping it real, I'm not even sure how many people are going to be interested in watching this because this is a hip-hop channel after all, but MGK is a rapper in hip-hop who recently made a transition to another genre, so apart from the Slipknot and rock community talk, I guess I'm staying on track. Anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on this? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about this.